Every year, countries around the world spend billions of dollars in buying new and sophisticated weapons to protect themselves from adversaries. A select few countries like the US, Russia, France, Israel, etc. choose to make their own weapons and also sell it to other countries. So which is better, designing and manufacturing your own weapons or importing them? Let's analyze. Does a country necessarily have to be rich and powerful if it needs to make its own weapons? Not really. Israel has a GDP of 410 billion and a population of just 10 million. But 90% of its weapons are indigenous. India, on the other hand, has a GDP of 3 trillion and a population of 1.32 billion, imports most of its weapons. China is a mixed breed. From 2016 to 2020, China was one of the largest exporter and importer of arms in the world. In the last 200 years, innovation has largely been a phenomenon of the West. This is because of 4 reasons. The innovation system. The focus of university education in the West is primarily on research. That's why you see so many Nobel laureates coming from the West. But in India, for example, the university education is primarily focused on providing quality employment. The European Union spent around $4.75 billion on an experiment to understand the fundamentals of the atom. This emphasizes how much importance the Western universities place on research. Funding and investments. There is no shortage of money in the West. You just need a great idea. Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, was only 23 years old when he became a billionaire. On the contrary, Mikhail Kalashnikov, the inventor of AK-47 rifle, did not make a single buck out of his invention, even though the AKM rifle was the most produced rifle in the world. Money is a great motivator. Intellectual property protection. The patent system has been in place and enforced in Europe and the US for centuries. It was for this reason that Zuckerberg made all his money. In the former Soviet Union, all the patents made by an inventor belonged to the state. That is the reason Mikhail Kalashnikov made only a great name for himself, but no money. Open business and trade policies. Western countries support free and fair trade. Markets should be open to innovations. Indigenous weapons manufacturing is largely a big budget business. The US spends billions of dollars to design new weapons. For example, the US had to invest almost $14.4 billion to develop the F-35 stealth fighters. Due to its deep investments in innovative weapons, most of its products have no match in the world, like the B-2 Spirit, the F-35 stealth fighters, the AH-64 Apache helicopters, the Zumwalt-class destroyers, etc. But innovation need not always be so expensive. The Turkish army designed a drone called Bayraktar TB2, which, even though cost only $2 million, won 3 major wars for Turkey. The MQ-9 Reaper drone, which the US Army uses and exports, costs $100 million apiece. That's 50 times more costly than the Turkish drone. Israel's indigenous Iron Dome costs only $50 million per battery, compared to the Patriot defense system, which costs over $1 billion, which is also used by the Israel Army. The Iron Dome is 95% cheaper than the Patriot system. When it comes to designing a new weapon, collaboration with scientists of other countries is crucial. For example, Israel collaborates closely with US for developing its weapons. And the European Union is one big family that jointly develops weapons like the Eurofighter. The Western countries, along with Israel, represents one bloc. This close association can be attributed to the success of the Western technology. There is no parallel to this. For example, Russia and China develop weapons alone without much collaboration with other countries. India, which tried to collaborate with Russia on the development of Su-57 stealth plane, had to exit because of budget issues. So innovation is dependent on 4 things: good scientific base, active investments, research and testing facilities, and industry for mass consumption. Now let's go to the other side, importing weapons. There are more than 500 airline companies in the world, but one thing is common to all of them. Almost 60 to 70% of the planes these airlines use are leased. They lease it from these aircraft leasing companies who actually own all the planes. This model has some amazing benefits. The airline need not allocate huge capital buying these planes, and so no R&D cost. If a plane's technology gets obsolete, The airline would just lease another plane which has the latest technology features. I have brought this example to show parallels in the defense world. Importing weapons is sometimes an easy way to go. When a country decides to import its weapons, there's quite a few headaches it can avoid, like no effort is required on developing new technologies, no worry about funding, no fears of technology lagging or becoming obsolete. There is no need to develop or update the ordnance infrastructure of that country. Import does save a lot of time and cost. For countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, etc., import is the best option as they don't have much potential or resources to design and develop their own weapons. But for countries like India and China, import is very harmful. In India, all import defense deals are riddled with scams. Indian politicians take the biggest share of the kickbacks that come from these defense deals. For example, the Indian Army uses a truck called Tatra. Tatra is an all-weather, all-terrain truck used to transport missiles, artillery and troops. Tatra is a Czech manufacturer. For more than 2 decades, the Tatra has been supplying trucks to the Indian Army. The actual cost of a Tatra truck is roughly $40,000 to $54,000. But the Indian government, instead of buying directly from Tatra, buys it from its subsidiary, the Tatra Sipox, a London-based trading company. This company sells the same truck at 120% of the actual cost for $88,000 to $114,000. The spare parts for these trucks, which normally cost only $40, were sold to India for $410. And this has been going on for decades. In 2009, a whistleblower named Anil Bakshi, a defense contractor, revealed that Tatra, the manufacturer, would take almost 2 years to provide spare parts for the truck. Only when the scam became public did the people of India realize the magnitude of the wastage of taxpayers' money. China, another big importer of weapons, also has similar stories, but due to its media censorship, the full details of the scams are not revealed. However, China has ramped up its indigenous capacity to produce its own weapons and also export them. Chinese defense products are, however, cheaper copycats of the Western and Russian weapons. So which is better, import or innovation? In Japanese military and culture, surrendering to the enemy is considered the most cowardly act. A ritual suicide called seppuku is given as an alternate option. Hence, in World War II, the Japanese army continued fighting in spite of Germany's surrender. They would rather die fighting than surrender. Yet on September 2, 1945, Japan surrendered to the US Army after nukes destroyed 2 of its cities completely. American innovation, the nuclear bomb, shocked the enemy to surrender. In World War II, it was innovative weapons like the proximity fuse, radar, and nuclear weapons which brought victory to the Allies. New and innovative weapons have the potential to drastically change the outcome of any war. Meanwhile, if defense is the only criteria, then import of arms without corruption would suit the purpose. Please comment on what you think about this video, and thanks for watching.